Welcome to Zoom with Czarny. I'm Dustin Czarny, Democratic Elections Commissioner for Onondaga County, and this is my weekly interview show. I interview democracy advocates and Democratic candidates running for office in an attempt to kind of bring you the news of what's out there in the world and have a further discussion about this from many different perspectives. This is my last Zoom with Czarny of the 2023 calendar year. So happy New Year to those of you who might be watching this. You're going to be celebrating a New Year's Eve this weekend. Please stay safe. I want to see you in the new year. It's been my honor doing these podcasts, and I plan on continuing to do so. I thought that this would be a good time to bring in Max Ruckdeschel. Max is the chair of the Onondaga County Democratic Committee. And we talk about, a final look back at 2023 and looking ahead to 2024, what the process is there and what the County Democratic Committee is looking to do going into the 2024 year. So I'm very happy to have him on the program. I'm actually still off from work, feeling much better. I've been sick for the last couple of weeks, but I'll be going back to work on January 2nd. And I'm kind of got a special announcement today that Allison Nano, my longtime assistant, is moving over to the county clerk's office. As you know, Democrats won the county clerk's office, and they're looking to fill some positions. And Allison is going over as a deputy county clerk, and she's going to be an excellent addition to Emily Essie's workforce over there. She's a longtime county employee, been with the Board of Elections for 15 years. And she knows the ins and outs of Onondaga County, is going to help the new county clerk navigate that. And I'm sorry to see her go, but I'm so happy for her and happy for Emily for choosing her. So there's going to be a little bit of transition at my office, and I'll be starting that as soon as I get back to work on January 2nd. So that's really all the news I have. So please stay tuned for my interview with Max Ruckdeschel, chair of the Onondaga County Democratic Committee, as we look back on the successes of 2023 and looking forward to what we can do in 2024 to further his goals of and the goals of the Democratic Party. Take care. And I'm back with my very good friend Max Ruckdeschel. He is the chair of the Onondaga County Democratic Committee. And we're having him on to talk about how 2023 went and what's in store for 2024. Max, thanks for coming on Zoom with Czarny.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So, Max, you've been on, I think you were on once before, when you first got elected chair. But now that you've been in the job for a little over a year, I thought it would be good to kind of catch up with you at the end of 2023, going into 2024, to kind of talk about what's going on. But before we do that, let's remind people what the Onondaga County Democratic Committee is and what your role is as chair, because I think people think of like 4 people in the back room smoking cigars. I don't think I've had a cigar in my life, but they think of this cabal. But why don't you talk a little bit about the County Democratic Committee and how people can get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. So the only requirement for membership in the Onondaga County Democratic Committee is that you be a registered Democrat and live in Onondaga County. And then we have our own requirements related to passing petitions, which is how people join the committee and stay on the committee. We pass petitions with our own names on them as a committee member, which is a public office. And that process actually is done in the even years. So coming up this spring, 2024, well, actually, I guess I still say spring, but we actually end up passing the petitions in the winter now, in starting in the end of February and then through March. But we'll be passing petitions with our own names on them. There are always some openings available within the county committee. We try and get people to represent areas as close to their home districts as possible, but sometimes that's not possible. I myself have never actually represented the election district I live in, there's always been other people that have been in those positions already. So I am lucky to have represented neighborhoods, not walkable from where I live, but still nice areas to go out and collect petitions in. But if anybody is interested in joining the Onondaga County Democratic Committee, they're welcome to send an email to chair@ocdemocrats.com and just send their information along, and we'll try and find a spot for them somewhere on the committee. And then basically the role of a committee member is to pass petitions to get Democratic candidates that have been designated by the county committee onto the ballot. No candidates for county office, for state office, pretty much get on the ballot without having the requisite number of petitions signed. In some of our towns, our town offices also require petitions, but in some towns, they do caucuses instead, which is associated with the committee, but not necessarily part of the committee process to get candidates on the ballot.
So,
and then,
oh yeah, go ahead.
And then I was going to say, and also as a committee member, you get votes towards our county designation. The Onondaga County Democratic Committee does designate Democratic candidates for as many offices as possible within Onondaga County that are run every year, and you get to meet the candidates that want to run, ask them questions, do interviews, and mostly they make themselves very available. They want your support. And then we vote as a committee to choose who we want to support through the petitioning process. And then if we have a primary, whoever the Democratic candidate is that comes out of the primary is who the committee supports going forward into the November election. And so as a committee member, you'll have opportunities to help get candidates elected by knocking on doors, making phone calls, talking to your neighbors, lots of other opportunities as well.
So, I think what, people don't realize is that the county committee is made up of about 800 people. It's they're elected offices. They could be primary. They are elected offices. So it's not something that is like, an inheritance or whatever. I mean, there are people that are on the committee. They are on there to walk petitions and support Democrats and do the work of the Democratic Party, especially going into the general election. The bonuses that you get is that you get to help shape the party and shape the nominees that come out of the party. As long as you're willing to do the work of walking petitions and then coalescing around a Democrat for the general election, right?
Absolutely, yeah, and that's a great point. I sometimes forget that it isn't common knowledge that there are almost 800 people that make up the Democratic Committee in Onondaga County, and that it takes a lot to bring all those voices together, and then to try and work as a team to get our candidates elected.
So let's look back at 2023 and see how Democrats did in Onondaga County. Of course, I just finished my weekly walks on the general election. It had one of them was about how well Democrats did for a local election. But before the summer, I think it was, or late fall, there was this article from Syracuse.com calling it the apathy election, where there was large amounts of people that were uncontested on both sides. The Republicans abandoned the city, and the Democrats, after fielding 17 candidates for county ledge 2 years before, weren't able to do that, and some of the town races went uncontested. But we did pretty well as well, considering all of that. Why don't we talk first about the struggle for finding candidates and why that is happening right now? I think it's happening all over the state. It's happening, nationally. There's a lot of reasons for that, but what do you think are some of the reasons there?
Well, it really depends on the race. And there's some race specific factors, like position specific, and then there are also some just general factors. The specific race factors that I would talk about would be like in our county ledge races, with the gerrymandered redistricting that was done of our districts last time around. The Republicans drew them specifically with the mind that most of them would not be competitive. So they didn't compete in many of the city races. And we were unable to find candidates that wanted to climb very large hills, very large Republican majorities against, sitting incumbents to run in those races. So honestly, some of that is by design. The way it was gerrymandered really was meant to dissuade candidates from running and from there being contested races. Now, beyond that, in some of the towns, there is a bit, I don't want to say like the newspaper did, that it was apathy. But so much that's gone on in politics nationwide, really in the last 7 years, since Trump was elected the first time. Everything has gotten so polarized, everything has gotten so nationalized in many ways that a lot of just your average citizen has been turned off from politics in many ways, and they feel. I've gone, door to door, knocking on doors to get petitions or to campaign, and even when you're talking about, your local candidates, many times national politics comes up, when you're knocking on a door, and so a lot of people just feel like they don't necessarily want to run for a local office because they're worried about, having to deal with national issues or really contentious issues, when a lot of the things that happen at a local level aren't that way. And so I think it's trying to just get more people involved as much as possible in our local elections, and get people involved in the process, and try and encourage them. There is a point to being involved in local elections. Not everything has to be national politics.
And I totally agree, especially about the gerrymandering. I think what we saw is, in 2021, when we ran 17 candidates, and the paper didn't cover it at all, really. I mean, so then they're talking about an apathy election, but there is a reason the Republicans drew the district in Onondaga County the way they did. Max, you're a member of the lawsuit with me. You were there before you were chair, so you were already on, and so we're fighting that in court, and we're hopeful so a decision that will do that. Plus, a low turnout elections that these odd year elections are, and we'll talk about the even year bill in a little bit, but and how that might change things, but definitely that was that. But that being said, being such a low turnout year, with the obvious exception of the county executive race, Democrats did very well. We won
Yes.
county clerk for the first time since 1990. We won both family court seats, making family court an all Democratic bench for the first time ever. And so those are the, we defended, Marty Masterful's county comptroller, which by the way, he got more votes than Ryan McMahon in a lower seat, in the sense of like down the ballot, which is actually hard to do. And then of course, we flipped two town supervisors in Lysander and Skinny Atlas, not known for being blue towns. We won both races that we contested out in Salina. We had a very good chance at winning all the races in Geddes except for a ballot snafu. But we did win another seat out there. We won two town justices in DeWitt and Manlius that were Republican before, defended the full slates in DeWitt and Manlius and defended the city, which there were some Republican challengers for school board, and Common Council had some like independent challengers. So, and defended all 6 of the county ledge seats and got very close, within 66
Mhm.
votes of taking the 10th county ledge, despite their gerrymandering. So we really did very well. Why do you think that is this year?
I think a lot of it was that we had some great candidates that ran very good races. Our candidates coordinated well, and we were able to focus a lot of our efforts into specific areas. I would say the countywide races, getting Marty Masterpole reelected, Emily Essley running for county clerk, and then the 2 family court judges, being able to focus on our countywide and saying, okay, this is where we're going to really put in an effort. It was tough with Bill Kinney running for county executive. He did a great job running a very difficult race. We always knew it was going to be an extremely uphill battle. Ryan McMahon has a lot of money and is popular in certain circles. But Bill was out there and he brought up the issues that we really felt needed to be brought up. And it really allowed a good level of coordination between all of those candidates. I'd also like to say with the county legislature races, not only did we keep the 6 seats that we had, but 4 of those 6 seats have new people in them. So it wasn't, I was very happy that we were able to introduce new candidates to the county legislature and support them and get them installed in office. It really would have been nice to pick up that 1 seat in Manlius. We were very close, even closer than we've gotten in the past, and I'm hopeful in 2 years that we'll be able to flip that if we don't have new districts by then.
Well, we will. I think we will. We'll see what happens. But I like our chances on the lawsuit. But that's a good point about, yeah, we defended our 6 county ledge seats, but 4 of them were new people. And 3 of those 4 that were new people are people of color. So we have now 4 of our 6 members in the county ledge are people of color. Of course, we're the only party that is worried about that. And, at least, having representation, there. That's very important considering how the way they split up those districts, they lessen the impact of Black voters in some of those districts. And so having representation, and making sure that we as a party is putting that forward is going to be interesting over the next, to see how the conversations change at the county ledge over the next few years, even if we're in the minority, but by having, new, younger, more diverse faces, hopefully they're going to speak for citizens that haven't been spoke for before.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was definitely, I think, a very good job by our committee in looking at and evaluating candidates. Chose a great slate that was very representative of the community. So I was very proud of that through our slate as well in our city races as well. Did a great job there.
So we're we talked a little bit about 2023, but let's talk about 2024 because it is now time to talk about 2024. I always got mad about people talking about 2024 while the 2023 elections are going on, but we are now in it. We are in the calendar year, or in the political calendar year of the 2024 election. And of course, we have Congress, but we don't know the shape of the district because we're waiting for redistricting. But whatever shape that district comes, it's probably going to be one of the highest rated flip districts from Democrat or from Republican to Democrat in the country. Uh, and and of course, you know, we got Senator Gillibrand up for reelection, the presidential election, but all of our state representatives are up as well, including an open seat now with Senate District 50 that John Mannion is leaving that to run for Congress, which creates an open seat there. And recent news of Al Sturby, who was you know, thinking about running for that, decided not to. So we have a kind of a wide open seat there, but then maybe the assembly seats are less wide open, but there's still the 126th, which has about 2/3 of its district in Onondaga County, and then you know, we have a smattering of town races or to fill vacancy spots that are coming up over the next year. How, you know, how is the committee preparing for 2024?
So in a presidential year, the local committee has to serve a lot of purposes. So I'll start by saying we will go through a designation process like we do every year. Our deadline for candidates interested in the county designation isn't until January 2nd, so there's still time for more candidates to join in to be a part of that process. We will designate candidates from the city level through probably we'll have a county family court race we think this year, and then the state, and we will also designate a candidate for Congress. And that event will end up happening on February 8th is when we've scheduled it for this year. So February 8th will be when we know who our designated candidates are. And then at the end of February, we will start passing petitions for our designated candidates. Actually, petitions are already out right now for our presidential delegates. And the committee plays kind of a adjacent role in that. Some committee members will go out and get petitions signed for that, and many of our committee members serve as delegates. But they are, it's not something we do necessarily as organized as committee as we do with getting the rest of our petition signed. We are going in Onondaga County, even though we don't know what the district is finally going to be for Congress. We're assuming that Onondaga County is going to stay whole. I'm definitely keeping my fingers crossed and hoping that we only have to deal with one congressional district. And so we'll be making a designation based on that one way or the other, even knowing that it may take months before we get a final answer to what the district is. I'm also keeping my fingers crossed. I'm sure you are too, Dustin, that we don't end up with an August primary again for that.
Please, Lord, no. I mean, 4 elections in 1 year would be very tough, although that's what we did in 2016, and
Yep.
we've done it before. I do not have the budget for it, so I'll blow my budget, but you know, that is what it is.
I know if we have to do it, you'll get it done. The Board of Elections in Onondaga County always does a great job, very efficiently. Unfortunately, not well enough funded, but you guys do a great job. So I'm sure you'll be able to handle it. But for everyone else, we're hoping definitely to just stick with the 3 elections that we already have scheduled for this year. We have candidates already. I mean, Congress has been going on. I know, you know, we say we're just now into the election calendar year for 2024, but I'm going on to year 2 basically of hearing about the congressional election. I'm sure you have been hearing about it just as long as well. I actually, yes, come to think of it, because our holiday party that we had last year, I remembered I had about 3 people come up to me and tell me they wanted to run for Congress last December. So yes, we have 3 candidates have technically asked for the county designation. I know there's a fourth that is filed, FEC filings, but we haven't heard anything from him. So right now in Onondaga County, we have 3 candidates that we're considering. And I'm assuming that there will be a primary. We have had a primary in Onondaga County for Congress every year since we didn't have Dan Maffei running, right? Am I correct? Yeah.
That's right. Yep. The last time we haven't had a Democratic primary was 2014.
Yeah. So I just assume that there's going to be one. So, but our job as a committee will be after that primary to get behind whomever our Democratic candidate is and make sure that they get elected. In 2022, Onondaga County came out for our Democratic candidate. It was, if not the highest percentage for a Democratic candidate, it was very close, correct?
I think it was the highest. It was.
I think it. I mean, it was. If it wasn't, it was very, very close.
It was highest percentage, but definitely not a highest turnout. So that's.
Yes, I think that's the difference. Yeah,
I think
not
that's
necessarily the most votes, but the highest percentage. Onondaga County, I think, is definitely going to be behind whomever our Democratic candidate is this year. We have a number of great candidates running on the Democratic side, and I don't think I think a lot of people understand. I've spoken to a lot of Republicans who can't stand Brandon Williams, and who really, you know, most people don't feel like he really represents the area, and so it's you know, being able to show his record now that he's had for a year in Congress, and how that really hasn't been productive for Central New York, and what a difference it would be to have a Democratic representative in Congress.
Especially since the House majority now is down to 3 members now that Mr. Santos is no longer there from New York, and that many people feel that we would have had a House majority if redistricting did not go badly for New York this last time, and with these new maps. But also, like, just it was a national mood in 2022 that has changed a little bit since then. And it's one thing in a midterm in the middle of a presidency, it usually goes against the seated president, and then and yet it went against it at the least amount that it's ever gone. And yet people are just surprised still that we lost majority. But the fact that this Congress passed something like 27 bills, which is hundreds less than what they normally pass, even just the House alone, and it just is an abject failure of leadership, and their speaker problems and all of that. It's just been, having, it's not just about the candidate, it's about who that first vote that candidate's going to make, whether you can have like responsible leadership with Hakeem Jeffries or whoever is the next House leader, and will they certify the election if Biden wins over Trump, is a real issue. And I think that's something that I hope that we'll be making as Democrats going into the next year. So I wanted to reserve some space to talk about that even year bill, because it did get passed. I did a commissioner in a car this week explaining it and how it went, but boy, was that a fun night on Twitter on Friday night when it was passed, and we saw like our county executive said a little bit, not too much, but said a little bit, said he was going to use county money to sue. That's interesting. But you had the county executive from Rensselaer just having a meltdown over this bill, and the fact that that some local elections will now be in high turnout years, God forbid. And Max, why do you? I know you were supportive of this bill. Why were you supportive of it, and why? I assume you're glad that the governor signed it.
Yes, no, I'm very happy that the governor signed the bill. I understand, the tradition and the reasoning behind, having um, local elections in
And
separate
we should
years.
say that you're a local elected official. You're a member of the
Yes,
town board and has been for a while. So this is going to affect you as well.
it does affect me personally. Yes, I'm actually I'm up for reelection in 2025, and it would shorten whatever town position that I run for. It would shorten the term of that, and that would be then the last odd year election that I would run in, and then it would be an even year cycle. Um, the reason that I was in favor of it, and the reason why I see that I think it's going to um, increase responsibility from the elected officials to their communities and to the voters. Uh, Unfortunately, I have been a person since I turned 18. I have voted in every primary, every general election I've ever had the opportunity to vote in. And it's just something that I do. And I grew up that way. And I don't need any extra motivation for it. But I can look at the numbers just as much as anybody does. And there is a large drop in the number of people that vote between even year elections and odd year elections. And so if we want our communities and our elected officials to represent our communities and to have the validity of actually being elected by a majority of our electorate, then we should want the turnout of an even year election. Um, and we've as Democrats, we have tried to get turnout up. We try every year. We do whatever we can. A lot of early voting, mail-in voting. A lot of legislation is passed to try and make it easier for people to vote. Unfortunately, it still hasn't moved the odd year election numbers in a way that really is getting people out to vote. So I think moving the local elections that are possible to be moved to an even year will then add more legitimacy to those elections because more people will get to vote in them.
Yeah, it's there's been a lot of debate over this, and I think the debate time is over. It's over. The governor signed it. The legislature passed it. They're going to go to court and say lovey. Have fun. I don't think it's really up for litigation, but anything's up for litigation, I guess, if you want to try hard enough. I just don't think that it will actually be able to be litigated, but we'll see. I'm not a lawyer. I may be wrong. But if they want to spend that money, well, yes, we paid for it, so whatever. But um, one of the reasons that brought me about was on this because I was, initially a little skeptical, but it's that it seems like the bill is taking some time to consider it. It's not everybody's on the even year next year. We have time to work it out. And it is just true. It's just we've done everything we can to get people to vote in odd years, and they just don't. It's just how society is running. It's that they just don't feel and it's not like they don't by 5%. It's but twice as many, three times as many people, and you just can't have a government that is being elected by this hyper minority and have it. And I think that's what's leading towards people's dissatisfaction with government is they don't own it. They don't know, who they put into office and people are selecting for them. And it's maybe not as diverse or as reflective of the community as a whole. And I think that's why I know that's why I support it and I came around on it. And I'm glad to hear others talking about that too, because there's definitely a lot more vocal voices against it, though I have to point out that the only poll done on this, the Siena poll, has 70% of New York voters wanted this. It's not unpopular by any stretch of the imagination. It's just unpopular amongst certain Republican office holders. So
I think once we get used, and I agree, this is the timetable that rolls this out over the next decade is I think going to be helpful. And when people get used to it, I think it's going to become the new normal. And I think people are really going to see the value of it. Actually, the only concern that I have is that I think the state legislature needs to follow through on some of the races that are left behind, especially in the towns. We have our town justices did not get moved along with the other town races, and so it's kind of these orphan offices that I'm worried about the turnout going even lower on those. So hopefully the state legislature will follow through with the amendment process to help out those other races as well.
Though I will admit, I think that's going to take a little while, and probably middle of 2030 is what we're looking at.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's a while off. We
Yeah.
know it's a while off, but
I again, it allows us to move a little at a time, and kind of like, instead of a big shift. And election administration wise, I like that. Because people say that, oh well, it's not fair, but it's not about fairness. It's about the ability to do certain things now and have to wait for other things later, because the constitutional amendment process takes a long time. So everybody has said, the bill sponsors and the governor have been out of their way to say they're going to be voting on a constitutional amendment this next year, and then hopefully put it before the voters in 2026, which is the earliest they can do. So,
yeah.
Well, Max, we're kind of reaching towards the end of that time, about a half hour or so. So I guess I want to ask my favorite question, because it's the laziest one I have. But what haven't we talked about? What is something that you want the voters of Onondaga County or Democrats to know about you, the committee, or races going forward, or in the past? Whatever you want. The floor is yours.
Well, the number one thing I would say is we're always looking to have people get involved, whether it's join the committee, volunteer on campaigns, come to fundraisers. We always need to raise money. Unfortunately, it's just a part of politics. Or people want to get more involved and they want to run for office, or talk about being a campaign treasurer or a campaign manager or whatever. My philosophy with the Onondaga County Democratic Committee is the more the merrier. I really feel like the Democratic Party is at its best when it is a big tent and includes as many voices, as many people from different cultural backgrounds, racial backgrounds, political backgrounds, whatever. We want as many people involved as possible, and the more we can really represent our community, the better off we'll be when it comes to our election results. So if anybody watching this is interested in getting more involved, please feel free to contact the committee. I'm sure Dustin can add an email for me and for the committee, and we would love to have anyone involved that wants to be.
Yes, I checked the show notes. I'll have the county website, county committee website, the email in there, and you can get involved. And of course, if you're having any other issues, you can always call the Board of Elections. That's what we're there to help guide people to getting involved. And these are elected offices, so Max, thank you very much for coming on Zoom with Czarny, and I look forward to a fruitful year.
Me too. I'm really hoping that we're going to be able to take the success that we had in 2023 and bring it forward and have an even better 2024.
Great. Well, we'll definitely check in about this time next year and see if that was the case.
Let's hope we have another good meeting.
And that was my interview with Max Ruckdeschel, chair of the Onondaga County Democratic Committee. It was great to look back on 2023 and look forward to 2024 with him. If you want to get involved, go to the show notes. You can go to their website and get involved with the County Democratic Committee. Next week, well, first this weekend, I am taking off. I'm going to try to do no content this weekend other than probably posting on Twitter because I'm addicted to that. But so no weekly walk this weekend. I'll start on that again in the new year. Next week, Commissioner in a Car, I'll be talking about the 2024 election, all the dates that are relevant that you need to know about going into the 2024 general election. Zoom starting next week will be with Christine Wood, a public citizen. We'll be highlighting a couple of things that I'm actually participating in of 3-year anniversary of the insurrection coming up next weekend. I'm actually traveling to DC for an event where I'm speaking to several congressmen about the impact that this has had on election administration for public citizen, and attending an event on Saturday as well. And Christine Wood has been on the program. She's a Syracuse native, and we'll be talking about the work of public citizen in reminding voters and reminding America about the tragic events of 3 years ago with the insurrection. So stay tuned for that. You can find everything at dustinczarny.com. And I look forward to working with you, the county citizens and viewers in the new year to promote our democracy. Bye-bye.